Hi there, I'm Christian Brim. Welcome to Core Focus, where we give you one breakthrough business idea for your small business in less than 5 minutes. My guest today is Phil Wilson from Labor Relation Institute and founder of Approachable Leadership. Phil, how are you?
I'm good, Christian. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. For those of you who don't know Phil, he is a national expert on leadership, labor relations, and creating positive workplaces. He is regularly featured in the business media, including Fox Business, Bloomberg News, HR Magazine, and the New York Times. He is a highly regarded keynote speaker, trainer, and author of numerous books, including the Approachability Playbook, 3 Essential Habits for Thriving Leaders, Left of Boom, Putting Proactive Engagement to Work, which reached number 2 on Amazon's Hot HR Books list, and Managing the Union Shop. Phil testified multiple times as an expert before Congress on union corruption. He graduated magna cum laude from Augustana College in Illinois and earned his JD from the University of Michigan Law School. Prior to joining LRI, he practiced labor and employment law in Chicago, representing companies nationwide. He also served as Director of Human Resources for a multi-million-dollar gaming corporation. The subject today is approachable leadership, and the rules are simple. We have 5 minutes for the interview, and when the countdown timer reaches 0 and the buzzer goes off, the interview is cut whether you are in full flight or mid-sentence. Phil, do you accept the challenge?
I accept, Christian.
Great. Your time starts now. One of the tools in your book deals with something called power distance. What does that mean?
Power distance is a description of how we each individually relate to someone who's in a higher power position to us. And it was researched by a guy named Hofstede, but the basic idea is that we each have a relationship to people that are in power, and that relationship is formed by our relationships with our parents, for example, the kind of culture that we grew up in, the church and religion that we belong to. If we were ever in the military, there's all kinds of factors that can impact how we feel about people in power. And the idea of power distance is that the wider that distance, the more deferential, the less likely we are to confront somebody who's in a higher power position. Mm-hmm. And as leaders, we have to understand that power distance relationship. And our goal, it's not necessarily for everybody to be exactly on the same level as us, but we need to understand that when someone experiences distance with us, they're going to be less likely to share things, safety problems or something that's bothering them. They're going to be less likely to share if they're experiencing that distance. And so part of what we need to do as leaders is to be on the lookout for distance. And if we feel like someone is holding something back, we're looking for that, and then we're trying to shrink the distance so that they feel more comfortable and safe sharing with us. And so that's the idea of power distance.
So what are some of the benefits of being approachable?
Yeah, so the benefits, there's a huge number of benefits to being an approachable leader. If you go back to the idea of power distance, some of the most important examples of wide power distance are tragedies. Plane crashes. When we teach our workshops, we talk about the Air Florida Flight 90 plane crash, but there's numbers and numbers of plane crashes where if you listen to the flight recordings, you'll hear the co-pilots and people in the low power position trying to tell the captain that, look, there's a problem. A famous example, they were literally running out of gas. And the plane ends up crashing in a neighborhood because the captain was so focused on something else that they weren't listening to the co-pilot saying, hey, we're about to crash the plane. So safety issues, but there's also a lot of positive benefits to being approachable. Approachable leaders are rated more highly by their teams. They have 71% lower turnover intention. They get higher 88% increase in organizational citizenship behavior, which is going above and beyond at work. Those are some of the benefits. And then there's personal benefits as well. I just was in Memphis yesterday speaking to a group, and one of the highlights there was I talked to them about this isn't just good for your work relationships. This is good for your relationships at home. Approachable leaders make more money. They live longer, happier lives. They have better sex lives. There are a lot of benefits to it beyond just being a good leader.
A lot of leaders struggle to connect with others. Any tools we can use to help with that?
Sure. One of the tools that we teach related to this idea of power distance is the recognizing gaps tool. And so if you aren't on the lookout, people don't just come up to you and say, hey, like, I think you're a jerk or you scare me to death, right? They behave in a way that will give you the signals that there's power distance, but you have to be on the lookout for them. So one of the tools that we offer, and we have a whole toolkit of tools, but one of them is this recognizing gaps tools. And the recognizing gaps tool, what it does is it gives you the verbal signals that someone's experiencing distance, the physical signals, and then also the behavioral signals. You know, just as an example, sometimes we'll see somebody as a leader that we say, you know, they procrastinate, they don't follow through on what they promise. But sometimes that behavior is related to the fact that they don't feel comfortable telling you that they're overwhelmed, telling you that they don't know how to do something, telling you that you've asked them to do too much. And so you need to be on the lookout for those signals that their words and behavior aren't quite matching, so that you can do something about it. And then the last part of that tool is, how do you change the relationship? And so we offer not just ways that you can shrink the gap to try to make someone feel safe, but even flipping the script to say, you know, hey, I need your advice about something. So there's different ways that you can do that to shrink the power distance.
Time's up, Phil. That's great stuff. Where can we get more information and resources?
Easiest way to reach me is at approachable.leadership.com. That's all one word, approachable.leadership.com. I'm on LinkedIn and on Twitter at approachableldr. But yeah, connect, and I'd love to meet the folks that are watching the podcast here.
Great. And make sure they get the book. Is there a link to get the book specifically?
Yeah. So if you go to approachable.leadership.com, right at the top, buy the playbook.
Great.
It's also on Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Great. Looking forward to reading it.
Yeah. Thanks, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Phil.